Hello, everybody. Just wanted to first thank Cochrane Supply for setting up this webinar. My name is Dennis Swoboda. I'm with Blue Ridge Technologies, and we're a manufacturer of unified lighting controls. And I have a brief presentation today to walk you through a little bit about my company and about the lighting controls that we manufacture and how they fit in with temperature controls contractors and facility managers to provide a unified total environmental control system. My name is Dennis. I am the VP of Sales and Marketing for Blue Ridge. I'm based in Northern California. It's a good place to be as far as controls go. We have on the West Coast probably the most stringent lighting control standards, and those are standards that are moving east. And we'll talk a little bit about what those standards are and how they apply to the lighting control industry. Speaking of the industry, I have been in the industry for a little bit over 25 years. I started with Blue Ridge back in 1999, so I've been with the company a long time. And also outside of working with Blue Ridge, I also volunteer with BACnet International. BACnet International is a nonprofit association just designed to promote the open BACnet protocol out to engineers and end users. I'm a member of the board of directors and also on the marketing committee designed just to, again, to promote the protocol out and the value of it. So Blue Ridge Technologies is a company that's based in Marietta, Georgia. There's a lot of things that make us, how I feel, different than a lot of our other lighting control manufacturers. First off, we exclusively focus on BAS unified lighting controls. That means 100% of what we do is integrated into the building automation system, which provides a unified system for the end user. One of the things one advantage that gives us is that it has given us more unified systems than any of our competitors out there. It's all what we do day in and day out, so it's what is our expertise. Another thing that's unique about us is we're one of the few companies that really pushes a non-proprietary open-based system. All of our stuff is BACnet native and it's BTL certified. And the other thing that we do is we have no proprietary occupancy or light level sensors. So unlike a lot of other companies that try to push you into proprietary field devices that lock them in as a single source supplier, we allow you to use any occupancy sensor or any light level sensor that you want, which helps to just promote the openness of the system so you get a lot more options for what you like and for replacement options down the line. Another thing that's unique about us is we are only delivered through controls contractors. So instead of a traditional manufacturer supplying through the electrical side, we go specifically directly through the controls contractors, which also allows it to be serviced locally through the controls experts. We have a tagline that says controls where controls belong, and we do truly believe that lighting controls belongs under the controls field. Another thing that's unique about us is all of our stuff is programmable through the building automation system. So instead of just being an integrated standalone system, so a system that can live on its own, that's just connected at the end to the building automation system, we're really designed to be a piece, an additional component of the building automation system. It allows it to be fully programmable from the front end, so all the scheduling that you already can do for temperature controls is the same scheduling that you can do for your lighting as well. And then the final unique thing about our company is everything is really designed by energy management controls experts. Most of our company comes from temperature controls world, so we know exactly what you guys do on a day in and day out basis. It allows us to discuss and to walk through any issues with you guys, test databases, and make sure that everything runs as smoothly as possible. Also, all of our stuff is manufactured in the U.S. We are based in Marietta, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. So also on here, we do have a couple of the other symbols that we like to promote. We have the BTL mark. BTL is the BACnet Testing Lab. So that's an independent testing lab that tests all devices just to make sure that they meet the BACnet standards. Of course, we are UL approved. We're also, me being based in California, are Title 24 compliant, and of course, ASHRAE compliant as well. So one of the issues we feel with that comes along with the traditional delivery methods are that what's being promoted is standalone lighting controls, in which case you have two completely separate networks, separate user interfaces, and no integration. Or what a lot of people's approach nowadays is what we call a gateway approach. What that means is you still have two separate networks, you still have two front ends, so two masters in the building for scheduling, and then you're connecting them through some sort of a gateway or a portal to provide some of the information back and forth. The issues with both of these traditional delivery methods is it duplicates the networks in a lot of devices. There's also a lot of unknown integration risk because you essentially have two separate systems that are being brought together at the end after the bid process. And then at that point, they're being asked to try to connect and figure out how to best interact with each other. Another issue that runs up is questions of how these types of systems can be serviced and supported. Whenever there's a problem with the gateway approach, both parties need to be called back in to determine whose fault it is or whose issue they're running into. You also have a lot of added gateway issues, situations that occur when firmware is upgraded and how that affects that interaction between these two separate systems. And of course, you'll still have the multiple user interfaces, which means many times whenever you have to go through scheduling changes, and you're having to go to two separate systems to try to make those changes instead of keeping it all in a single system. Sometimes that results in a lot of limited or in some cases no integration, depending on the two systems that end up installed in a building. And of course, sometimes this can lead to higher costs due to the life cycle between these two different components. And there's a lot of hidden costs of proprietary-based systems. Being stuck with a single source for replacement parts often makes replacement parts more expensive, and it puts you in jeopardy when those parts are no longer made. Your system can be made obsolete overnight. Our approach is what we call the unified lighting control method, and some of the advantages of delivering it in this manner is, first off, you get one system. So lighting, HVAC, plug load, metering, all in the same network. This allows you to leverage a lot of the existing energy management system functionality. So the capability to remote access in, make changes on the fly, being connected into security, fire, access control, all this stuff can be leveraged without any extra parts or pieces, and it allows you to create more advanced sequences of operation. The second kind of main advantage is the single interface. So that same front-end software for lighting is the same as for your HVAC. There's no extra gateways or extra networks, so we're saving costs and we're allowing the end user to have a single point of reference for their entire building. The final one, and probably one of the most important, is one point of accountability. This approach really kind of aligns everyone's core competency. And the basic takeaway is that the BAS controls contractor is going to provide and support the system throughout its life, and the electrical contractor is going to install it and do all the line voltage work to make sure that it's wired correctly according to the specifications. One of the things we like to talk about, and it's a big change when we talk about the unified lighting control, is how is the product specified? When we reference back to the standalone and the gateway approach, it's often left in the electrical division and specified as it traditionally has been through an electrical contractor. One of the issues this causes in a gateway approach is that what's being asked of everyone is to bid a project and to verify that they can connect to a system that they have no idea what that system's going to be. So in this case, a lot of extra added costs are added to make sure that it can cover any extra parts, pieces, man hours to try to make this system work. Our approach is simply just to move it into the controls contractor's scope. So it's a change in how it's laid out, but some of the advantages to this is it can eliminate this integration uncertainty. By simply moving it into the controls contractor's scope, we now allow the controls contractor to pick a system that they have worked with before, and they know how to meet the spec and how to meet all the sequences of operations that the engineer is asking for. What this also provides is the customer with a single point of accountability. No matter what happens with this type of a system, with a unified approach, the facility manager, the end user, knows they can just contact their local controls contractor and they can get the system back up and running. In many cases, the controls contractor has people stationed there or have them there on a weekly basis. So it's very easy to keep this type of a system not only up and running, but more importantly, optimized throughout the life of the building. This also helps to remove duplicate networks and devices. So instead of having two separate networks and all the gateways and other devices that go with that, we're going to go with a single network approach. That eliminates a lot of costs, eliminates gateway issues, and really gives the customer what we refer to as total environmental control. So it's a building automation system that's not just temperature controls, but it's controlling everything in that environment, which again allows for a more powerful front end, more control sequence opportunities, and more cost savings for the building over its lifetime. Also allows you to leverage that BIS infrastructure. So again, any of the other components that have already been purchased or installed or have been taught to the building owner or the facility manager, they can be leveraged and utilized for both the lighting and the temperature controls, as well as the access control, fire, and security in certain circumstances. Also going to be serviced locally by the controls experts. So instead of relying on a factory that could be anywhere in the United States, or somebody locally that doesn't necessarily know the system all that well, they can count on the same experts that they use day in and day out to handle all their temperature needs as well. The unified approach also promotes the open-based systems that I referred to, which can increase the lifespan and help to avoid proprietary issues. By opening up the types of components that you can use, that means more people can offer them, more people can service them, and you're not at won't have an issue with a single vendor eliminating a component that makes your system become obsolete. One of the ways we help to make this change is by working with engineers with what we call a responsibility matrix. So we put this together. It's a Excel spreadsheet that allows you to change and identify who in the electrical and who in the controls world is going to be providing all the components, who's installing them, and who's wiring them. What this does is help to clearly identify everyone's roles. In this case, what we promote is the controls contractor provides all the equipment, the electrical contractor installs. So in this scenario, once the electrical contractor finishes the installation, hands off a point-to-point, they're able to move on to the next project, and the controls contractor, who usually has probably the closest relationship with the building owner, will be there throughout the building's life to provide the service and the programming that they need to optimize the building. This also helps to reduce uncertainty on bid day. This eliminates duplicate costs from multiple trades carrying money for wire, field devices like occupancy sensors or override switches. So it really helps to kind of identify upfront what exactly that they are responsible and are not responsible for as well. Also just aligns everyone's core competencies, allows the controls integrator to do what they do best, which is integrating and programming the controls. And of course, the electrical does what they do best, which is the line voltage and the installation of the components themselves. And then the final thing is this does guarantee a unified system versus getting a standalone system or a system that just kind of lives on its own and trying to integrate it at the end. So that's part one of our responsibility matrix. We also have a second part where it really gets into a little bit more of the system infrastructure and the engineering side of the project as well. This helps to result in the unified infrastructure. So again, eliminating all those duplicates in the networks, allowing it to be having a single network that's going to go through to handle everything for the building. Also unifies the installation by increasing the coordination between the trades. Again, everyone knows exactly what they need to provide, exactly what they need to install, and what they're wiring as well. You also get unified sequences of operations. So by having everything on a single front end, we could take advantage of advanced control strategies, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then the final piece is a unified system training. The building owner or the facility manager is going to get one system to learn and to maintain throughout the building or throughout the life of the building. And it's just going to be very simple for them to keep up to date and to know how to make changes so that the building is always optimized based on scheduling, time of year, and any other changes that can happen to the building over its lifetime. So that's a little bit about Blue Ridge and our philosophy, how we go to market. I want to briefly kind of cover our product line and walk you through a little bit of how we go about actually applying the products to a building. Our product line is called M Cubed. It's really designed to be modular in 3 dimensions. It's modular in its application. We have centralized panels, which would be traditionally located in an electrical closet. We have distributed panels that are put out into the space. And we have a whole line of retrofit solutions as well. So this really allows you to mount the I/O where it's needed, whether that's in an electrical closet, out in the space, or a combination between the two. The product line really allows a lot of flexibility in the application side. It's also modular in its packaging. We have 6 different enclosure sizes, starting at 2 modules and moving all the way up to 16 modules. And it's really customized to meet the installation needs. All of our panels can be stacked, so we can make any sort of combination between line voltage and low voltage I/O that you need, and really allows, again, to meet the exact needs of the application instead of getting a canned enclosure with maybe extra parts and pieces that you don't necessarily need for your building. And the final piece is that's really modular in its I/O. All of our cards are DIN rail mounted. They plug together. It allows you to mix and match in any sort of combinations that you want. We also have universal inputs that allow for analog and digital inputs. And because they're pluggable and DIN rail mountable, it's really easy to add I/O as needed, whether it's in the beginning or down the road as the building changes. On the right, you'll see we have really 5 major product categories. The first one on the upper left is what we call our control panel. That is a combination of relays and I/O that's put in an enclosure. It can be as small as 4 relays and go up from there. Realistically, there's no limit in how big it can get. The one to the right of that is what we call our retrofit interior. So that is a whole UL-listed interior, and that's designed for a building that has existing lighting controls, but those relays that are existing are either obsolete or failing in large numbers. You take those, you leave the enclosure in place. We just take the guts out of that, and we put the UL-listed interior inside that. Helps to save about half of the install cost. You're not removing the old installation, trying to get a new one to fit in there, but allows the customer to quickly upgrade, get a whole new relay platform, and then, of course, the controls and I/O needed to be brought into the building automation system. Down on the lower left, we have our smallest unit. It's what we call a zone controller. I also like to call that like a VAV box, but for lighting controls. As code has gotten more complicated, the point density for lighting controls has gone up. Many cases, especially out on the West Coast, you're required to have occupancy or vacancy sensors. You're also required to have light level sensors for automatic daylighting, along with dimming controls and, of course, the relays for on-off control. So because of all of that, it starts to make more sense to distribute the controls out into the space so that your wiring and distances are a lot shorter for your field devices. Just to the right of that is what we call our retrofit kit. That we also like to refer to as a brain transplant. That's for customers that have existing mechanically latching relays such as the GE RR7, RR9, the Wattstopper HDR5, the Douglas 2-wire relay, some of the older Lithonia stuff as well. So many of those mechanically latching relays allows the customer to keep everything in place. So the enclosure, line voltage wiring, the relays, it all stays in place. So they're keeping most of their original investment. And we're just pulling their low voltage brains out, putting in our controller and our relay driver, and then bringing that into the building automation system for control. The final one on the lower right is what we call our control kit. And that's essentially just a controller with any sort of combination of I/O that's sold without an enclosure. All of our stuff is 508A rated, so it allows you to put it in an enclosure with some of your other temperature controllers to make a combo panel or to really mix and match the I/O as you need it for your particular job. As we move into some of the modules, realistically, this is kind of what I would like to refer to as a big Lego system. It's a bunch of building blocks so you can pick and choose, mix and match to make the exact panel that you need. Again, that gives a lot of flexibility in the design phase for a project. So these first three are Class 1 modules. These are line voltage modules. The first one is what we call an R004. It has 4 20-amp relays, either 120 or 277 volts. And the relays can be used for lighting, plug load, shade control, and realistically anything that you want to drive with these. The relays do provide true relay status, which is unique in the industry. We're actually measuring the wattage that's going through the relay to verify that power is being utilized. And these relays come with a 10-year warranty, so it's a strongly backed relay. Each of the relays is mechanically latching and has a manual override, so no matter what happens, or even in the beginning construction phase, you can always turn the relays on and off manually, which makes them very handy and, again, very robust. Just to the right of that, we have what we call an RE04. Module's going to look almost identical. It's the same 4 20-amp relays, but these ones are UL 924 emergency rated. So what that means is you can take what would traditionally be a separately controlled emergency circuit, and we can control them, use any energy management strategies we want, turn them on, turn them off, dim, do anything, and then as soon as normal power fails, these relays are kicked into the on position and they go to full bright. That allows you to give the most path of egress for anyone in there so they can get out in case of either a power outage or some other emergency that's been triggered. The one on the bottom is what we call a TM03, and that's a 2.5 amp or 2500 milliamp power supply. And that's what we use to drive all of our modules and also to drive field devices. So it can power up light level sensors, override stations, and occupancy sensors. So that also helps to eliminate the need for any power packs or any extra wiring that would normally take place out in the field. We have a couple more Class 1 or line voltage modules I'd like to cover. First is the RO224. This is our zone controller. So this is the smallest units designed to be out into the space. And this one has 2 20-amp relays, 2 analog outputs for your 0 to 10 volt, and 4 universal inputs. Of course, also does provide the true relay status and also comes with a 10-year warranty. This combination of four universal inputs to the 2 analog outputs and relays is what we call the current golden ratio for lighting control code. And what that does allows you to have your occupancy or vacancy sensor, your light level sensor, which each of those will take up an input. So you'll have 2 of those for every 1 relay and analog output. So each of these really can handle 2 separate zones or channels in an area, depending on how the particular zone or room is laid out by the engineer. Below that is an RE224. It's really the exact same unit, but it does have a UL 924 emergency relay. So in this case, one of the 2 relays would be normal power, and the other would be an emergency relay, which would be triggered anytime normal power failed. Moving on to our low voltage building blocks. These are all Class 2 modules. We have an A008, that's 8 analog outputs, 0 to 10 volts. That's for your 0 to 10 volt dimming. And each of those can sync up to 100 milliamps. So it gives you the ability to control a lot of LED drivers out in the field. We also have a UI16. That's 16 universal inputs. So that allows you to have any 0 to 5 volt, 0 to 10 volt, or 4 to 20 milliamp input. We use those for light level sensors, but they can also be leveraged for any sort of temperature control inputs that need to be as well. And we can also, on the digital input side, we can handle any maintained, momentary, and most 24-volt occupancy sensors. And of course, we do power those up as well. So it allows you to choose the parts and pieces, the components that you want to use. And even if you've already standardized on an occupancy sensor, you can continue to use that as well. We have a couple combination cards as well. We have the AU48 that just has 4 0 to 10 volt analog outputs and 8 universal inputs with the same capabilities listed above. And then a DU88 that has 8 digital outputs, 1 amp each at 24 volts AC or DC, and 8 universal inputs. A few last Class 2 low voltage modules. Kind of the most important one for us is what we call our CM, it's our control module. This is our BACnet MSTP native and VTL listed controller. We do have or are working currently on Ethernet or IP over BACnet capabilities. That will be coming out later this year, but it's already built into the controller itself, so that's coming soon. This controller has a real-time clock, so it has full BACnet scheduling capabilities. It can hold BACnet schedules inside it in non-volatile memory, and of course can be driven by the building automation system schedules as well. Also allows for remote configurability, so this can be updated and changed from anywhere in the world or locally, depending on what needs to be accomplished. The field upgradable firmware as well, so we do provide free firmware upgrades as we continue to add additional control sequences and other updates that is provided out there so that you can go ahead and upgrade controllers to keep it to the latest and greatest. And the controller also has optional DMX capabilities. And DMX is an open protocol originally designed for theatrical control, but we use it for color control. So it gives you the red, green, blue color combination options to give you the ability to change the color of a light, whether that's in a classroom to make lighting more pleasing and calming to the students, all the way to other situations where we use it for building facades or in lobby areas to change the color of the wall or the lights. One that we did recently was a building in Seattle where they wanted to make it look like Seattle Seahawks colors in the lobby and the outside of the building. So it could be used for both fun and for very serious usage as well. But again, it gives you full color tuning capabilities. The one on the bottom is our RD16. That's our universal relay driver that we use in our retrofit kit or the brain transplant. And each one of these drives up to 16 relays. And again, that works with most of the mechanically latching relays. And also provides up to 16 load status inputs to give you the real-time status of those relays as well. Here's some of the sample sequences of operations that are built into our controllers. Of course, there's automatic daylight harvesting, so that gives you the ability to take advantage of the light that's coming in, the natural light. And essentially, as more natural light comes into an area, we reduce the artificial light coming from the fixtures. The way we accomplish this, we call it occupant-centric, which means that the user can identify the light level that they want just by adjusting the switch on the wall. This is important nowadays because a lot of times our task can change from day to day. Some days we're working on computers or laptops. We want a much lower light level. Other days we're looking at plans or doing paperwork where we prefer a higher light level. And essentially what happens is as soon as you choose the light level that you want, whether you dim up or dim down the light, once you let go of the button, we take a snapshot of the light in that room. And we're going to maintain that for the rest of the day or until you tell us to do something differently. So as a more natural light comes in, we're going to slowly and imperceptibly lower the light coming from the fixtures just to maintain that exact light level for you. We also have dimming and preset applications. So of course you can manually choose the light level anytime you want, and with presets you can pick scenes or different modes, so to speak, in an area. We use this a lot in classrooms where they go into presentation mode or teaching mode. That allows them to pick one button and manipulate the lights to go to the exact light levels that they want. We also have mechanical shade control. We do that in conference rooms often to allow them to not only choose the light level that they want for, say, a presentation, but also close the shade so that they can get the darkness that they need for it. We also have automated demand response capabilities. We're utilizing that in two ways. One is for utilities to send out the signal to ask for demand reduction. Many buildings can be offered incentives to reduce the amount of energy that they're using when they get to peak hours. The other thing that we're running into recently is many municipalities are starting to go to real-time pricing, which means the pricing for energy is starting to go up during the day when more people are using it. And this type of system allows the front-end control to slowly reduce the amount of energy in correspondence to the charge that they're getting. So you get 3 different levels of demand response to lower the amount of energy usage in the building. We also have integrated plug load controls. That is part of the code out west, and it is something that is starting to be adopted by many more states moving eastward. But in essence, whenever you leave a room after a certain set of time, 50% of the plug loads turn off as well. And that's designed to eliminate a lot of the excess power that's being pulled from chargers and other types of devices that don't need to be on but are just left plugged in often. Through the DMX, we do have the color tuning capabilities. So that's choosing the color of the light. Could be as simple as making they use it in prisons to make a softer light to reduce violence, all the way up to more complicated types of sequences where we're looking at mimicking circadian rhythms. So mimicking what the sun naturally does, which is start with an orange reddish light, moves throughout the day towards a more bluish tone, and then again comes back to that orange reddish light as the sun sets. Our bodies are designed around that light cycle, and there's many things that are triggered by the different types of lights that are important to us. And as we're spending more and more time in buildings, circadian rhythms are becoming more and more important and will be utilized more often. We also have unified HVAC and lighting schedules, right? So we can put this all together instead of having 2 separate systems to program. We can tie those together and take advantage of it. Partial on, partial off sensor sequences. So instead of lights turning all the way off or turning all the way on when they're being triggered by sensors, you have the ability to adjust that to come on only partially, and then they can be overridden higher if need be. Or in the case of hallways, we could turn them partially off so that we're not going full dark or causing people to have to walk down halls that have no light. We can go to a light level that's low, but still gives them a good path to get in and out. There's also security, fire, and access control opportunities. So we're tied into those systems. If a security alarm or a fire alarm were to go off, we can trigger all the lights to come on to give everyone the best path of egress. Or in a security situation, that'll help to deter theft. And then access controls allows us the ability to tie in people's access cards to the lights and, of course, the temperature controls in the areas that they would be normally occupying. Lumen maintenance is also an option. It allows you to trim both the high and the low side of the light level. So you can make sure the lights don't go above a certain level or below a certain level, depending on the type of application you're looking to accomplish. And you also get unified building graphics. So that same system, the same temperature control graphics that you were used to using already can be leveraged for the lighting side as well, giving them a single point to look at everything that's going on in their building. And then that also provides you with opportunities for virtual zone overrides. So instead of actually having to have physical switches on the wall, we can now provide access to the building automation system through backnet points to allow them to trigger zones on and off whenever they need to be, and also to control the level of the light and the temperature, of course, in those zones as well. And the final one is multi-mode sequencing. So it's really optimizing a building depending on what's going on during both occupied and unoccupied modes. So we can make the same system act completely different just depending on the time of day and the number of people that are going to be in the building at that time. As far as programming our system is very easy. We have 3 options. There's first is IP routing. So that allows you to really configure the system from anywhere in the world. Outside of that, you can also program it just straightly from the building automation system's front end. So that's probably one of the easiest and most commonly used. If you want to connect directly into the system, we have a USB connection. It's a standard micro B USB cable, so the same cable that we all probably have 20 of in our drawers. You connect directly to the controller and allows you to do any of the programming that you need. And then we also have a Bluetooth wireless option, and that Bluetooth chip is included with our tech kit. Allows you to wirelessly connect into the system and handle your programming as well. Regardless of which of these 3 methods you choose, anytime you do connect, you're going to see all of the controllers on that backnet trunk. So it allows you to do all the programming from one location, which makes the startup very easy to accomplish. We do have a training kit special, so you can contact your Cochrane salesperson. It is a discounted kit that basically provides you a control panel with 4 relays and analog outputs and universal inputs, along with a raise lower station, 3 preset station, an occupancy sensor, and a light level sensor, and a Bluetooth module. This is a great way to give Blue Ridge a trial. It can be installed in an area in your office and to show off daylighting capabilities. And it can also just be installed on a bench test so that you can let your clients and your technicians mess around and get some more familiarity with the control system. And then we also have our optional tech kit. It includes the USB cable, the Bluetooth module, and then all the software. One of the things that is unique about Blue Ridge is we do offer our software for free. So if you're interested in taking a look at it, you can download it right off of our website. And again, since we have no proprietary cables, you can use your standard cable to connect in for programming as well. So to wrap things up, here's some of the buildings that we've done throughout the years. The company originally started in 1985, and for many years we were an OEM manufacturer, so we're really in thousands and thousands and thousands of buildings. But these are some of the ones that we'd like to highlight. A couple of our major types of applications that we're doing is schools, the K through 12, and then the colleges and universities. Recently, there's been a large boost in, I think, a reinvestment in our K through 12s, which is resulting in a lot of new schools and retrofitted schools coming up. And also, we've noticed a lot of community colleges are seeming to expand and rebuild as well, as people are looking for more affordable ways to get to advanced educations. Outside of that, we do a lot of corporate retail, federal and state government stuff, municipalities, and then of course one of my favorites is sports facilities, with one of our latest being the Broncos Stadium in Denver. So that wraps up the presentation. If you have any questions, you can contact, of course, your local Cochrane Supply rep, or you can email us at sales@brtint, and we'll get any answers that you need. But we hope you'll give us a chance to experience the difference that comes with Blue Ridge. Unified lighting control is what we do every day, and we do our best to make all of us successful. What I like to say is if we do our job well, Your customer won't even necessarily know that they have Blue Ridge. They're just going to know that they have a more powerful temperature control system or building automation system. And again, I just want to thank Cochrane Supply for this opportunity. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to them, and they'll get in touch with us, and we'll get you the information that you need. So thank you to everybody, and I hope you all have a great day.